Get NFL Sunday Ticket at its lowest price ever and watch every game every Sunday. Take your NFL experience to even greater heights with NFL Sunday Ticket Deluxe, which gives you Red Zone, bringing you the final yards from around the league along with minute-to-minute NFL fantasy updates. Call us at 601-8992 to sign up today.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned in to MB12, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, government has finally concluded the investigations into claims of abuse at the detention center. However, authorities aren't releasing the highly anticipated report. The victims of yesterday's fire tragedy, identified as family members and neighbors, suspect foul play. A Pineapple Air passenger tells of her harrowing experience when the plane's door flew open just after takeoff. Plus, get ready for a heat wave as Miami's NBA champs prepare to head to the capital. We've got those stories and so much more coming up. I'm Paige McCartney, and MB12 starts right now. Welcome once again to MB12. Investigations into the alleged assault of Cuban detainees have been completed, and proceedings against the persons implicated will begin soon. That's according to National Security Minister, who made the announcement today. But he remains tight-lipped on the details of that report. Nakia DeVoe tells us what happens next.
Nottage refused to give us any details on the findings of those investigations. Now, the hearings will also be private. We're told that's to avoid any compromising of national security. But a full report of those proceedings will be made public at their conclusion.
These proceedings are being conducted in accordance with the legal rules prescribed under the Defense Act and regulations, which approximate a trial before a magistrate's court. As such, we will refrain from making any comments concerning the proceedings while they are under consideration. 3 independent observers will be permitted to attend the hearings in order to assure the public that the proceedings are transparent and just.
The minister says those 3 observers will be chosen from the general public, and most likely one will be a judge, one a member of the church, and the other a person familiar with such proceedings. The government is expecting the hearings to be completed as quickly as possible. Nottage noted that these are not criminal proceedings, but that could change.
Depending on what they find, I guess one would determine ultimately what type of hearing it is.
According to a report leaked to the Nassau Guardian last month, Cuban detainees were severely beaten at the Carmichael Road Detention Center for almost 2 hours after they attempted to escape, and one even appeared to have temporarily lost consciousness as a result of the abuse. That was allegedly in an interview given by a Marine as part of the initial investigation into the incident. The Royal Bahamas Defense Force completed the investigation. Members of the opposition and Cuban human rights group Democracy Movement questioned the integrity of the investigation. Nottage dismissed their comments as political.
What it is safe to say is that the persons who have been implicated in any way will have the opportunity to have their case heard by the Defense Force process.
The abuse claims fueled a firestorm both locally and in Florida, where protesters have been agitating and demanding answers from the government of the Bahamas. Democracy Movement has engaged in a smear campaign against the country, demanding that the findings of the investigations be revealed. Nottage said he could not give any information.
I'm confident that the matter will be resolved in a way that would satisfy both our local population and the international countries.
Retired Justice Emmanuel Osadabe, Reverend William Higgs, and former Superintendent of Police Douglas Hanna have agreed to serve on a committee to inquire into the affairs of the detention center and make recommendations for its efficient administration and management. Nodded said they have been asked to work as quickly as possible, and he expects them to begin their work within a week to 10 days. Reporting for NB12, I'm Nakia DeVoe.
Well, Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell says he has instructed officials within his ministry to look into whether criminal elements may be organizing a wave of Cuban detainees recently found in Bahamian waters. 13 Cubans were found near Key Sal Sunday and will soon be transported to the detention center in New Providence. In a press statement, Mitchell said they must investigate whether persons are attempting to destabilize the country by encouraging people to breach our borders by leaving Cuba and entering the Bahamas illegally. Meanwhile, Democracy Movement spokesman Ramon Sanchez is suggesting it may resume protests against the Bahamas in the wake of the recent repatriation of 5 Cuban detainees. The group has been asking the Christie administration to consider sending Cuban detainees to a third country rather than Cuba, where they claim these people may be victimized. Sanchez says the group feels government ignored its decision to call off protest at Florida airports and shows no interest in following opposition suggestions for dialogue between both sides. Well, in other news, as fire officials continue their investigations into that unspeakable tragedy which claimed the lives of 6 people yesterday, relatives and friends of the victims are questioning the circumstances surrounding their deaths. Based on where the bodies were found in the home, they say they suspect foul play. They also shared with us one of the victims' heroic attempts to save her 2-year-old daughter's life after their home became engulfed in flames. Vonnie Toot reports.
One day after this tiny home on Miami Street went up in flames, killing the 6 people inside, grieving relatives and neighbors say they believe Monday's fire was the work of an arsonist. Police have not yet released the identities of the 6 victims. However, we understand they are 2-year-old Joashini King, her mother, 22-year-old Jennifer Besant, their aunt Marilyn Barrett, and cousins Mel, Eunice Pratt, and Trayvon Grant. Joashinique's grandaunt, Angela Pinder, questioned why none of them were able to escape from the burning 4-room structure, telling NB12 she suspects foul play.
But I don't feel like the fire started from no gas, no cigarette. It can't, because somebody should have been able to come out of there.
And they should have smelled something.
They were fighting in the bathroom to get in the water to protect the young baby and all that. That means they had their sense to being able to get out.
Neighbors who were too afraid to speak on camera say they also suspect arson, something fire officials have not ruled out. If their suspicions turn out to be correct, Pinder says the family wants justice.
I can't be satisfied everybody just come looking, otherwise everybody done die. So I'll feel good and satisfied if they get someone and start hanging.
Just a few doors down from the tragic scene, Joashinique's grandmother, Deborah King, said she refuses to speculate during this difficult time. She fought back tears as she remembered the toddler she helped to raise.
It's hard. It's very hard because, she was almost like she lived here, even though she lived with her mother. And we're going to miss her greatly because it was something that we didn't expect.
Unlike the other victims whose bodies were reportedly burnt beyond recognition, King says Joashinique's face was untouched, meaning she will have an open casket at her funeral, thanks to her mother's heroic attempt to save her only child's life. She says it speaks volumes of the kind of mother Jennifer was.
They was on top of her in the bathroom, but trying to protect her with little water in the bathtub.
She was a beautiful girl. She was, beautiful in person. Very mannerly. I never had one, from the time her and my son was together, I never had one day of problem with her.
Joashinique attended Final Hour Academy. Her mother, who was a 2009 graduate of C.I. Gibson Senior High, reportedly worked at a breakfast stall. Scores of tributes poured in on Facebook, giving us a glimpse into their lives. According to Eunice Pratt's Facebook page, she worked at Sandals Royal Bahamian and studied at College of the Bahamas. Those who knew and loved them say this unspeakable tragedy is one they won't soon forget.
They're nice people, very, very nice people. Very nice. That's my best friend.
Nobody could cope with that. Not even family or no family. No one could cope with 6 people burning on, including a little 2-year-old baby. Nobody could cope with that. I don't care if you're an animal, you can't cope with that.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Ronnie Tude.
Well, a robbery suspect trying to evade police ended up crashing his getaway car at Princess Margaret Hospital. Our cameras were rolling as police processed the scene this morning. According to a release sent out by the Public Hospitals Authority, this incident happened just after 9 o'clock after the suspect, who led police on a chase from Bay Street to Elizabeth Avenue, crashed his black Honda into another car parked at Princess Margaret Hospital. The suspect then reportedly left the car and ran into the maternity ward entrance of the hospital. However, security at the facility, along with officers in pursuit, were able to detain the suspect, who is still in police custody. PHA confirms that no staff or patients were harmed during the incident, and police are continuing investigations into this matter. And there's an investigation underway into an incident aboard a Pineapple Air flight on Sunday. According to passengers, the back door of the plane flew open mid-flight and some pieces of luggage fell out. One of the passengers, who was headed home to San Salvador from the capital, said she has yet to hear from anyone at that airline about the terrifying incident. Although airline officials have not commented on the incident, NB12 confirmed with Flight Standard Inspectorate Manager Hubert Adderley that an investigation is underway to determine exactly what happened. A passenger we spoke to said she purchased Bahamas Air tickets for herself and her son to travel from Nassau to San Salvador on Sunday. She told us they checked in at Bahamas Air's counter, but it wasn't until they were escorted to the gate to leave that they were informed they would actually be going to San Salvador on Pineapple Air. She said everyone boarded the 15-seat plane. They took off, and about 5 minutes into the flight, something went wrong. She explained that she heard a lady scream, and when everyone looked to the back of the plane, the luggage compartment door had flown open, exposing the female passenger, who was seated right next to the door, to the outside. The passenger, who didn't want her name used, said the people sitting next to the screaming lady had to hold her back for fear that she may fall out of the plane. It was at that point that she said everyone on board feared for their lives.
It's just like, Father, only you can do this. Please take us down safely. Please get us there safely, Father. Please, please.
According to this passenger, the pilot turned the plane around and they landed safely at Lynden Pindling International Airport. She said passengers went to Bahamas Air's counter and asked to see a manager. Someone came out and apologized to the passengers and offered them lunch while they found a plane to take them home. When they got to San Salvador, they were missing her son's luggage, which apparently flew out of the plane. But what she said was more disturbing is that she still hasn't heard from anyone at either one of the airlines.
No apology, nothing. They didn't even speak with us individually, nothing. And what concerns me is that there were kids on board, and I would hope that by now they would have spoken with those parents, because one of the kids, he was really, really traumatized.
Now, according to the flight inspector, they aren't prepared to provide details until the investigation is complete. Adderley said there's more to it than just the door flying open.